This is Yasman's Learning Belly Dance on how to make your belly dance belt. I'm going to start right off and go right into sewing. I'm actually attaching a chain to the back side of the belt, which is the part that's going to lay up against the hip, where no one will see. As you can see my stitching from what's on the front, which I will show you once I'm done this little bit here. Now, when I attach a chain, I tend to sew it a lot and loop over it to hold it in place. Sometimes I will buy little gadgets that have a piece of material and then it has a loop itself, and then I will attach it to the loop on that item. But I didn't get those this time because I feel that it doesn't really make a difference. You can do it two ways if you don't have those essential things. When we left off last time, I actually had just cut this basic shape straight across. Now what I end up doing to give me a V shape in the back is the material. I had it, but I was about to see the front of this now. Instead of going right into sewing, I should explain this real quick. What I did was I took this part here, it was folded regularly, and then I cut it on an angle upward like that. So when I took my scissors to the material, I'll just use this as an example piece. It was this shape right here, just like that. In order for me to get the V to show in the back, a slight V, I took the scissors and I cut it on a triangle, a diagonal line, which makes a triangle piece of material come off. So, like that, there. And I had lost some inches while making this belt, so I had to cut my belt in half. Now, if you have the measurements exactly the size, you don't lose weight while you're making the belt, you know, then you won't have to cut it. So I end up having to cut mine in half from the back, then sew it back down the middle, and then sew this part. So what I did was I took that and I would sew this on the back side of it to leave that there. So it would actually, when it opens up, it would be more like this, like that shape in the back, which you want it to actually have somewhat of that shape when going around your hips, okay? So that's what the difference is I did to the base of the belt. I had to change it. So, anyway, going right back into the sewing, we'll go over each piece I did when not on video. So, here I'm sewing the chain on. So what I did was in the back, right at the center in the back, which is right below the small of the back when you put the belt on, I took two chains, one chain on this side, one chain on this side, to hug my hips when I put the belt on. So I'm sewing the piece of the chain on, letting a piece hang there, about that amount, a few inches hang downward so it can have like a tail. So I'm looping the thread around here, and this is pretty much almost done as I was in the middle of doing it. So we can go right to the next sewing part right after this piece. Just going to do this a few more times. And you can always go back over this to make sure it's locked well in place. Okay, so that's always a good idea to make sure that it's locked well in place. Okay, so doing that, and I'm going to take this here and lock this right here. And oops, and I'm going to loop it, locking it, and push and pull. So that's locked good. Then you want to take your scissors and you want to clip that, and of course re-lock the thread to get it ready for the next part. Now, I'll make these so I can show you how to do that too. Pull my tools over. Now, the belt is about this long when it goes all the way up. I'm going to lay it here. Now what I did was, last time I showed you how to attach the rings for the tying. What I did was I added those bolts. So these little bolt buttons. This is the antique style of those. Now, when I add that on, what I do is I simply make two, you say incisions, small incisions in the material to stick this part through. So when you take these off of the paper, they come on. They're like this. Like this piece, you got two prongs, and you need to make two incisions on the material to stick these through. And once you stick it through the material, this goes on the back side of the material to hold it in place, and you fold it back out like that. Okay, very simple. Be careful when you're making scissors. I usually use a knife a very sharp knife with a point, like that. I usually take my scissors and I cut. I'm going to give you an example material piece. I take my scissors and I take it like that to that point, and I cut it like that. Okay, and I pretty much am used to the measurement, but you can measure it out, the distance between the two holes that you're going to be making. And I slice that. Take my knife, stick it through here, flip it over, then I will cut like that to make sure that the knife can go through. Cutting at the knife, tip of the knife. See, the knife point comes right through there. Flip it over, do the second incision, or hole, whichever you want to call it. Incision makes you sound like you're a doctor. So, right there, see that? Now, what you do is you take this, like I said before. This is just an example, so that way you'll know how to put them on. They have tools at the fabric stores that you can use to probably stab through the material too. I don't know what I did with my tool. I'm silly. So I'm taking that, and I'm going to puncture that right through. Come on. 1 second, because I think I moved it. Sometimes it's annoying, sometimes not so much, but of course if you lose, there we go. So see, it's through there. So you want to take this, push it there, and pull it down, pressing, and voila, on the material. See, stays flat and it's on there. So that's what I did with each one of these. Now I took some of my trim, and when you're making a set, because you can see the bra, I'm making it a set, so it matches to each other. So you see I've been working on the bra design. So I took this piece here, which is the wider of the trim, and I placed it downward. I did my pins, and I'll show you on this side real quick. Scissors closed, needle ready. Yeah, it's locked. Okay, back to that example. I have a side part of it that I didn't do, so I can show you the sewing. Interesting part. I took this material here at the top, the very thin trim for the top of the belt, and I have to sew the top layer and the bottom layer of that. And you can see the layer you want to sew on, the line you want to sew on, is where the thread has already been inserted to make this specific type of trim. So you want to start on the end from the back, push through. Right here, come on, push through. Sometimes the material can be tough when it's folded up like that. And you're going to sew on that exact line that's already pre-existing. So continue that right there like that. If you feel the need or want to skip a few of the threaded lines, you can. Okay. I'm not going to finish that complete line, but you get the point. I'm going to lock it in the back. Right through here. Material. There we go. I'm going to lock that real quick. And I'll leave the pins in until I finish sewing the line in that specific area. A very specific area. And I'll pull them out as I go, or sometimes I'll wait to the end. Really depends on what I'm in the mood for. So like that, and it stayed. See? Just like that. And you want to use the thread that's colored to the material, obviously, so you won't see it. And I sewed this trim right here, the top of the very line, which holds it in place. And then it's going to be sewed in the middle too on this belt because of this middle trim here. As you can see, I sewed this side already, all pre-sewed, so you can see what it looks like. Okay, and this is the center of the belt. So I put a small brooch there. Of course, the chain is going to come from that area and go around the front. Okay. Now, the second thing I want to show you is how to put on the tie that's going to tie the two rings together. A quick note on that. I already pre-did some of these. Now, what I did is I took some of the yarn And I measured them out for a certain length that I would want to make sure they reach each other. Then I took the 3 pieces. You see the 3 separate pieces there. See? Then I took them and tied them in a knot at the top, giving me my top piece. Then I put it here. Okay, so I did a braid straight down. Alright, and you want to do that 3 times. You want to make 3 of these. So I have one I did tie a knot in, just so you tie the knot. Loop over the finger. I'm sure you may know how to tie a knot anyway. But pull there, and then you have the pre-one. Then got the one done. After you braid all 3 of these, you braid them all together. Then you take it and put it on the ring, and you sew the knot together so the knot will never come out. And let me do that real quick so you'll see it. And again. Okay, so you take these 3 and then you have to sew them together. Okay, tie this in a knot. Make sure it does not come out while you're doing the top of that. Small knot. Just a loose one so it won't come undone. And then you want to braid the top of this all together like so. Really quick. Okay. Then you want to take the ring. Where are you, silly ring? This end, because I did the ring already. So you want to take this ring, and you want to take this, and you want to tie it on here like so. I'm going to use this end that I pre-tied. You want to take this and go. I'm going to tie this on. And you want to push this under, and you want to tie it, okay? And then you want to sew this with the needle, so that way you actually can have it locked in place and it won't come out, okay? So there's the belt, pretty much all done, except for the one chain that's not on. I'm going to stand up and show you a little bit of it. So you see before you attach the other chain on there, and then show you the other side. See, there's the belt. And it will look something like this around me. Do this real quick here, show you, give you an example. And I'll tie it like that. See? So it's pretty good. Well, I will hope you have fun making your first Bellydance belt, and maybe even a Bellydance belt and bra set. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy having fun with that. This has been Yasmin learning Bellydance, how to make your Bellydance bra and